Greetings, peace be with you. In this video, I want to ask you the question of whether you are the player or the played, right? At the end of the day, there's a game being played, okay? If you don't know what that game is, then chances are that you are being played and don't even know it, right? And really, the purpose of every video that I make is to help you increase the awareness around all these different aspects of your life so that you can continue to express the most capable version that you are capable of expressing, right? Who you are capable of being is literally limitless, but there is a certain agenda at play that is being used to manipulate people's perceptions to keep them trapped in the small place of the ego structure of me, mine, my, right? But you forget the I, right? The mighty I of who you really are, right? So the games being played are all around us, okay? There's a game being played in the financial department, right? With the banks who create money that doesn't exist called interest, lending it out as credit, right? So they lend out money that doesn't exist and they end up getting the person in debt and they end up charging on that debt. And at the end of the day, when that debt is not being paid back and they've given out more loans than they can, then the entire market crashes and then the government bails out the banks with the taxpayers' money, right? So that's just an example of one game that's being played. Another game being played is that of paying, let's say, 100 grand for a piece of paper, right? A piece of paper that apparently reveals you are certified for doing something, even though you don't have the results for doing that thing. And you spend 4 years going through this system that we call university. And for me, all that really did was expand my awareness on the game being played, right? At the end of the day, it's like all these different games. There's games with the financial industry, the education industry, the mainstream media, right? Are you being played by this fear mongering, by giving in to the perception? Do you believe everything just because it comes on TV? Because I have a lot of people around me that read a certain stat, that watch a certain, oh, it's on BBC, it must be real. Oh, it's on CNN, it must be real. But they don't dive deeper and see that all of these mainstream media companies are run by the same monopoly at the end of the day. If you keep going down the track, and there's a certain agenda for the fear, right? There's a certain agenda for the manipulation, because there is the certain elite, right? Let's call them beings, because I don't even know if they're human or not. Okay? Depends how deep you want to go. You're like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about right now? Okay, whatever you want to call them, there's a certain energy that feeds off of the lower emotions of fear, of guilt, of shame, of rape, of killing, of murder, right? And that energy is the hidden agenda that feeds off of all of this fear mongering, that feeds off of all of these people getting sick, right? Is it a coincidence that the more the US has spent on their healthcare, the more the people have gotten sick? Okay, I don't think that's a coincidence, all right? I just believe in cause and effect. I don't believe in coincidence. And my definition of coincidence is actually God's way of staying anonymous. So that's what I read on a quote, right? It's like coincidence is just the way cause and effect, the law of the universe, right? And the more we can actually become aware of the cause that is leading to the effect, the more we can begin to become the cause rather than be at the effect, right? Because when you're the played, you are in the system. You are programmed. Your perception is not your own. It's been programmed into you, right? And the most important question for me really has been why, right? Why is this the case? Why do I believe what I do? Why is this true, right? Why is this book that someone told me contains all the answers of life, right? The book contains all the answers that I could ever look for. I read that book. I didn't come up with the answers. And if I say that I didn't have the answers I was looking for, then something wrong with me, not with the book, right? Or this book was there, like, this book is the ultimate reality. How do I know that? How do I know it wasn't manufactured over thousands of years, right? How can I be sure? Oh, just be sure. Trust me. Why? Oh, because someone else told me. How do they know? Someone else told them, right? And it just keeps going. It's a game of Chinese whispers at the end of the day. But that is the level of the played, right? But once you develop an awareness, and you're watching this video right now, which means that you're in the process of developing that awareness, you already have developed that awareness, you're beginning to implement that, right? Because awareness is only step number one. You can be aware of something. You can be aware that busting nuts to pixels on the screen is damaging you, but you are still doing it because your body has been hacked by this hidden agenda, by this agenda to keep you enslaved, to moving towards pleasure and moving away from pain and keeping you in that low vibration, even though you're aware of it, right? I hear a cat meowing somewhere. I don't know, it's pretty loud, all right? I don't know if you heard it. But that's the plate, right? When you are doing things and you don't even know why you're doing them, right? When your perception has been manipulated by factors outside of you. So how do you become the player? First and foremost, developing an awareness of the games that are being played. For example, the way that the economic system works right now, right? For example, check out Rich Dad Poor Dad, all right? It's a really good example of it, because really what it comes down to at the end of the day is the difference between understanding how the system works so that you can actually play the system, right? You can become the player rather than the played. For example, with the financial system, it's like employees, they actually pay tax before they spend. If you're a business, you spend and then you pay taxes, right? You spend on what's left over. That's why the richest people in the world, they don't pay taxes, because part of the reason is that they end up investing all that money into the growth, into the development of the company, and they have certain awareness of how the tax system works, which means that they'll never pay tax, right? People talk about, oh, the rich should get taxed more, right? But the tax system is set up in a way which allows them to avoid at all costs. The rich will never pay tax, okay? Because they understand the way the tax system works. And if you understand the way the tax system works, then you will elevate from generating your income as an employee, as a sole proprietor, into either becoming a business owner or an investor, right? The tax system works very differently. Definitely recommend you dive deeper into this, all right? Read the Rich Dad Poor Dad series if you want to get an awareness on how the financial system works as well, and how you can actually begin playing it rather than be played by it, right? Same thing with the education system, man. Like Albert Einstein said, that the only thing that gets in the way of my learning is my education, right? And I think it was I forgot the name of who said it. I think it was some famous author. He said that don't let your education get in the way of your development or learning, right? And we live in the age of self-development, of self-education, whereby anything you could need to learn about anything, you can go and learn from someone who is in the field, who has gotten the results that you want, rather than going to a lecture hall and learning about business from someone who has never even started a business, but all he knows about business is something he learned from a book, which is basically like, oh, I'm gonna teach you how to swim because I read about it, all right? So don't worry, I know all the tips and tricks and techniques, but I just don't know how to swim myself, but I'm gonna teach you, don't worry, right? That's kind of like the education system right now. There's very few professors who are actually practitioners of what they teach, right? It's mostly theory. And in theory and practice is the same thing, but in practice, of course, that is not the way that things play out, right? And again, with the nutrition, with the health, right? It's the power's in your hands. Don't be giving away that awareness to the person in the lab coat who apparently knows you better than you know yourself, and he's overweight and he's dealing with his own issues, but he's going to tell you how to live his life, right? He spends his life in a hospital with sick people, and he's going to tell you how to heal yourself with the pill, right? So the power is in your hands, all right? It's all about increasing your awareness of how these different games are being played to manipulate your perception, and really developing the awareness of who you really are, first and foremost, as an infinite divine being, having this temporary human experience. First and foremost, waking up to that reality. It's like, whoa, I am divinity in its individual expression. I am the ripple on the surface of the ocean that is not separate from the ocean, right? I am that infinite awareness that is having this experience through this body that I call whatever your name is, right? Like waking up to that, first and foremost, is, I think, the foundational belief. And then, because I think the level that religious programming has gotten us to is that of destroying spirituality, right? Of thinking that there has to be a connection between you and the higher source. That connection can't take place in your own heart, right? It has to take place through this person over there in the church, in the mosque. He's gonna be the connection between you and God. But once you go into your own heart, you realize what is true, you know what is true, and you act based on what you know to be true rather than what you have been told at the end of the day, right? So there's a bunch of different programs out there, right? Getting an awareness on them, first and foremost, getting an awareness on who you really are. I think that comes before everything else. And then you can begin to slowly but surely move in the direction towards your desired destiny, towards your authentic path and purpose, towards your dharma, right? What were you here for? What are you here for? What is the reason for your being? Because the truth is that you incarnated over here for a very specific purpose that only you can uniquely express and create. And the purpose of life is to cultivate your greatest gifts in greatest service to the world and really inspire other people to do the same, right? Realize and reveal your potential, inspiring other people to do the same. Okay, so quick video for you. I think 10 minutes is a quick video for me, been going on for a while, but I hope that you develop this awareness. I hope that you begin to, get an awareness on the games that are being played and get awareness on the rules of that game so that you can become the player rather than the played, right? So with that, I conclude this video and I will see you in the next one. Much love to you. Take care.